Welcome to the Secrets Women Keep podcast. I am your secret keeper and confidant, Lauren White. I'm a qualified counsellor and sexologist, facilitator of all things turn on, author of Permission, and a witty, highly intuitive lounge room dancing introvert. I help you as an exceptional woman in entrepreneurship to see, love, and trust all the parts of yourself, especially the unseen. Let's pull back the curtain, light the candelabra, and lift the veil. These are the secrets women keep. Hello, and welcome to the Secrets Women Keep podcast. I'm your host and confidant, Lauren White, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Julia George. Julia is a psychic, clairvoyant, witch, healer, and psychotherapist who's been doing readings for over 20 years. She's a clairvoyant and clairaudient and regularly holds workshops in psychic development, tarot, ancestral medicine, ritual, and the Enneagram. Julia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. I'm really excited. And I would love, first of all, I want to tell people, you are one of the rare gems that I follow on Facebook and Instagram. So I just want to tell you that straight from the get-go, that you're like,
thank you.
It's like, royalty in my book. I'm like, I need to follow her on both platforms just in case.
Just in case.
There's something somewhere that I miss. And I'm really glad I do, because without me following you on both platforms, this episode might not have come to fruition. So you did a post, I want to say about a few weeks ago before we're recording today, and you said, like, it instantly got my attention. It just popped up in my feed and I was like, whoa, I was just sucked into what you'd written. And you wrote, "Secrets, I hear them. It's the best feeling watching someone melt with relief when they can unburden themselves from a secret, letting someone be witnessed and not feel judged. A sigh of relief, tears roll. Finally, someone else knows. Secrets are psychic poison." That was your post.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you share with us just what was moving through you at the time that you wrote that post and why you felt compelled to share that based on the work that you do?
So most people who come to me for a session are, usually looking for, love. I don't know if you haven't had a reading before. I'm sure many people have assumptions of what happens in a session. And sometimes I think, if only they knew. So yes, I have people coming for love and stuff like that. But most of let's take a Saturday, 60% of the people who would see me that day are offloading something that nobody else knows. And sometimes it can be quite mundane. I'm flirting with something. Does this mean my marriage is ending? And most of the time it's actually no. But, people really hold on to big things as well. And as we progress today, I'll probably tell you some of the more shocking things. But I think with secrets, they can be anything from, I've got a crush on somebody and I'm partnered. What does this mean? To my grandfather's just died and we found out we've got a new family member nobody ever knew about.
Yeah.
So there's those, big secrets as well.
So is it fair to assume, or just from what you've said, when people come to you, they think it's for one thing, but once they start talking and expressing to you and you read what they're saying.
One of the things I really pride myself on is being able to create a really safe space, which is, unless you're skilled, difficult to do. Somebody's walked in, it's been 5 minutes. There is something going on called limbic resonance. So it's where you're physically starting to attune to each other, getting the vibe of somebody, if you like. Limbic resonance is something that animals do really well to know whether or not somebody is safe to go to. So energetically, in the first 5 minutes of a session, I'm working really hard to make that person feel comfortable. Sometimes when somebody comes in, it may look like I'm shut down or, oh God, she isn't being very friendly. But energetically, I'm starting to tune in and feel into that person, and also any ancestors or people who have passed who have walked in with them. So there's a lot going on in the first 5 minutes of a session. I think what prompted the post was a girl that day had revealed something to me that nobody knew for 12 years. And what I wrote in the post literally happened. It was the sigh of relief. The shoulders went back. Her breath softened and she sobbed, and just her whole posture changed, just having somebody else witness something that had caused quite psychological and emotional damage for many years.
Yeah, wow. And that's a privilege to be in that position, to create that safe space for someone to release in that way. When someone does release in that way and a session has come to a finish, it's completed, what kind of things can people do when they've just revealed something so big? How can they look after themselves after revealing a secret?
Well, sometimes I will give some self-care tips, and not, sometimes it could be really pull away from other people this week because you're going to be quite fragile. Sometimes it can be, something as simple as, go for a walk on the beach this week, do something just for you. I always encourage, journaling. Sometimes, depending on the nature of the secret, particularly if there's some trauma involved, I will encourage therapy. For people to do something ongoing about this, because revealing the secret is huge, but sometimes it requires ongoing tenderness. And so, a secret sometimes can be quite fragile. The nature of secrets can be shocking. And, a lot of the times too, some people will come to me with a secret, and I definitely hold space for it. I don't minimize it. But sometimes people's secrets are not as bad as they think.
Yeah. Yeah.
In your head, it's like, I'm the worst person in the world.
Yeah.
I've done this thing. And in my head, I'm like, that's it. That's what you've been ashamed about for 10 years.
Wow.
Can I tell you 3 people that I know that have done the exact same thing?
Yeah.
And that gets a sense of relief as well.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, other people?
Yeah.
And so this is why I think secrets can be psychic poison, because they linger into every aspect of our life. And then once you start to unload, sometimes the antidote to the secret and the poison can be quite simple, and sometimes it's not.
Do you feel like you've used the term psychic poison? Do you feel like there are degrees to the secrets we hold within our psyches? Like, are all secrets psychic poison?
No, absolutely not. There can be long-held secrets that, do need attending to. To state the obvious, I think anything within physical, sexual, psychological trauma, they can be a poison, particularly if they've been held on to for some time. So they're the obvious ones. I'll give you an example. This lady has now passed, but I read for her daughter, and so I have changed some elements of this story to be able to tell it. But a woman is in hospital to see her husband of, I think it was 50 years, 50 years, and he was passing. And, the children are out in the hallway. She's come in to say her final goodbye to him. have a moment of peace. And he squeezes her hand and, she squeezes it back. And he says to her, I couldn't die peacefully unless I told you this. I've been having an affair with your best friend for 30 years. And so he lets out this secret. And then within, minutes, maybe 30 minutes, he passes. So she's in a hospital room holding his hand. She's just found out, A, he's been having an affair, and B, it's with her best friend. And she goes out into the hallway, and there are her 3 children and her best friend. So, that's, it was obviously, psychically poisoned for him. I need to offload this to be able to pass peacefully. And then for her, she walks out into the hallway. She's looking at her 3 grieving children. She's just lost her husband and effectively lost her best friend. And so, psychic poison can go both ways. It's not always just your secret. It can be somebody else holding a secret against you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, wow. And so in your work, are you finding that, and in your readings, are you finding that you're walking alongside someone in both of those scenarios where might be their secret that they're holding, it might be them holding a secret for someone else? Are you finding both of those scenarios come up?
I can hold space for both. I graduated from psychotherapy, I think it was 5 years ago. And the reason I studied psychotherapy, and in particular somatic psychotherapy, was I was getting more and more trauma in my sessions.
Yeah.
And as a psychic, finding an inability to be able to help people in the best way possible. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, trauma is big. I saw a brilliant video clip by Brene Brown recently, and she said, not everybody is entitled to your secrets. You have to be very careful about who you share that material with, because some people, if they're ill-equipped, can go, oh, you think that's bad? I heard this.
Yeah.
And, in particular with the woman who came to me who just lost her husband and, told about her best friend, she really didn't want to share it with anyone. She didn't want to keep the secret.
Yes.
She needed to deal with it herself and unpack it in her own way. And I gave her permission from day one, we unpack this at your pace and you don't have to tell anybody, including your children.
Yeah.
Yes, they're asking why you're not talking to your best friend, but, this is huge too. Your own kids are grieving. She didn't want to burden her own children with the secret as well. The children all do know now, but secrets can go both ways, either the person holding it or the person keeping it and, not sharing it. And, secrets can be, I'm sure you've dealt with this on your show, what a form of a secret is. But I read for a couple years ago, and the wife came in. I don't allow people to come in together. You have to come in separately. So with husband and wives or whatever, you can record the session and play it back. Anyway, this woman came in. She's like, I want a better sex life with my husband, and I wish we traveled more. And, I'd really like to explore more spiritual stuff between the two of us. And, she said all this stuff and she left. And I had a question about her husband, and she said, well, you don't have to worry because he's next. And I was like, oh, God. Anyway, he came in, starts the session. I really wish I could travel more with my partner. I just don't think she wants to. And, I really wish we had more spirituality within our, relationship. And I just was sitting there like, are you two even talking to each other at home? Their needs and wants were exactly the same. It wasn't necessarily a secret, but that is a form of a secret.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Their desires, remaining under wraps. Yeah. Yeah.
And, as you know, the cornerstone of any secret is just flat out shame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so here's two people feeling guilty about wanting to travel and have more sex and, learn Reiki together. And it's like they've both got, and, they, to be honest, they were in their 60s. So it may have been a generational thing as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad you shared that, because I personally want people to know that I feel like there are echelons to secrets, there are layers, and there can be
Absolutely.
stories like what you just shared. And it's like there is a lightness about that. You can't, I don't know, there's no, it doesn't feel like it doesn't have the sensation of, it doesn't have the feeling of shame attached to it. It is like wow, like this could be so easily resolved, and you
Mm-hmm.
to connect so much better if you just say the unspoken between each other. Like that's the solution, and then you can move on and fully express yourselves.
Yes.
So on that note of expressing ourselves, what happens from a psychic standpoint when we go against the energy of expressing our stories and choose, or maybe we don't choose, but we revert to suppressing and repressing instead?
As a reader, it makes it really hard because sometimes I know somebody has come in and I can feel it. They want me to pick up on something. And sometimes it's super obvious, and sometimes psychically it's in a vault. So I have a couple of strategies. One of the most common is I will say, "Oh, that's a really great tattoo." And they're like, "Oh," and they start telling me about the tattoo. And I don't mean this in a mean way, but they're crapping on about the tattoo. What that allows me to do psychically is, because they have dropped a defense system, it allows me to start looking around at other aspects of their psyche to see what it is that they're hiding. Sometimes, if I can feel like it's literally on the tip of their tongue, I will literally say, "I feel like there's something that you want me to pick up today, and I'm not picking it up. So if you'd like to tell me, you can."
Yeah.
Then there are other times where the opposite happens. They walk in and it's so glaringly obvious. Because when you come in, I sort of look at the family structure, what's your partner's name? What's your children's name? Just look at some basic birth data astrologically. And then I get the cards out. And then I'm looking at the cards and I'll just flat out say, "Look, I'm sorry to ask this, but I'm going to. Who the hell's this guy? Because this isn't your husband." And a lot of times people will say, "Oh my God, thank God. Like, thank God you picked it up. I don't have to say it out loud." But, I see people all the time. They're either in an affair or they're having affairs. I don't judge affairs. 12 years ago, I would have. But now that I've done psychotherapy and marriage counseling, I see how affairs are so easily co-created.
Yeah.
And affairs are never about sex.
No. Never. So,
when somebody comes in and I'm like, "Oh, who's this guy?" That's like, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed," or, "Oh, nothing's happened, but I've got a crush," or, "We've been seeing each other for 3 months," whatever it is. And so, we can, walk through that in somewhat of a therapeutic setting.
I'm glad you made that point about in the infidelity and affairs. It's somewhere we're yet to venture speaking on this podcast, but I definitely will, and I would really like to. Affairs, you made a really good point. They're not about sex. What would you say they are actually about?
And hang on a minute, I'm just writing a note so I can come back to that. I just want to say most of the secrets that I hear usually are about affairs. I hear, more childhood secrets as well, but affairs is definitely a big one. Affairs are a number of things. They can be a cry for help. Some people want to be caught, so they bring their marriage to a crisis so that some of the issues are finally spoken about. Affairs sometimes are about, I'm too weak to end this relationship, so I'm going to have an affair and hope that you find out. Sometimes it can be a form of punishment. You spend so much money, I'm going to go and have an affair, like in a very unconscious, passive-aggressive way. Affairs sometimes can be about getting some missing needs met. I just want this to be sex. I don't want the emotional stuff. I love my wife. And I do have those conversations with clients. So, on one hand, I say it's not about sex, but, if those people were in marriage counselling, I would have challenged that notion about, if it wasn't about sex, what else was going on? There's a myriad of reasons that people have affairs. One of the ways is to express anger. You're withholding to me. You're withholding from me. So this is my way at getting back. Sometimes it can be a generational thing. It is really, really common. I've got a client right now. I read for him and his wife. They're a great couple. But there is an element where what's playing out with one of his brothers is exactly what his father did. So I see those family patterns a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's so weird. I was 11 when Dad left, and now my kid's 11 now that I'm leaving. And I'm like, isn't that interesting? Yeah. So those family patterns can repeat in terms of affairs. By the way, it's not always men.
No. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Cheating.
Definitely.
I just want to say that.
Yeah. I was thinking equally of men. I was thinking equally of everyone when you were speaking. But thank you for clarifying that. Yes.
Yeah. So I do see both.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a wide range of why people, have affairs. Sometimes, they get found out in 3 months, and, sometimes they get found out after 30 years.
Yeah, yeah. And people are looking for a part of themselves through affairs as well, right? They're looking to uncover other aspects of their identity that they're completely out of touch with, or thought they didn't exist, or there's this very self-centered in aspect to infidelity and affairs and what people find out about themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I have many, many clients that I've had this conversation with where, by the way, if you come to me for a reading, I'll always ask for photos, because one of my specialties is I can read faces and bodies. But sometimes somebody will go, I'm so in love with this person, and like, she's the one, and I'm going to leave my wife, and, she's the one. And I'm like, no, this person has come into your life to highlight what you're missing from your marriage. Now you have to go and find that again, with your partner. And I see it a lot too, where people will have an affair, both or either partners find out. So let's say it's, the really cliche one where a girl and a guy are having an affair, they work together, their respective partners find out, both marriages end. I see it all the time where the marriages end because of the affair, but the two people having the affair don't stay together.
Yeah.
It's just been a wake-up call and a bit of a mirror about what's not working for us. Good, we're now both out of the marriage, and now we're back together. I'll also say too, it's very, very, very common, more common than you would think, where affairs are revealed and it actually brings the couple closer together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where they can fight through the issues. Yeah. And, one of the things too, once an affair is revealed, particularly if they enter marriage counselling, everything's off the table now. Now they can both finally reveal their secrets, and that's what brings them back together.
I love that.
Not all the time, but it's like, oh, God, you felt that? Oh, well, this is what was going on for me. And, you know, it's obviously a process. It's not, 6 steps of marriage counseling and you're back together. But revealing secrets within a marriage, even a friendship, can bring people together.
Yeah, what happens when two people get together and start sharing their stories and their secrets? What happens from your work? What happens?
There's obviously, well, with me it's different because it's just me and them. It's not the third person in the room.
Yeah.
Usually it's a realization, oh, wow, I don't love him, or I did it for this reason. Oh, God, when do you think I should leave? Like, should I stay for the kids? What, and the conversation goes either way, where they decide for financial and children reasons, they'll, he or she will stay for another 3 years. And in other sessions, it's been like, oh, God, now you know this. Now you know the secret. I'm leaving next Friday. And it's like, oh, God, okay, this is moving quick.
So, it's inciting action for people. Like they reveal and then it gives them the wind that they need to go and change something within their life.
Change comes almost immediately psychologically. It doesn't always translate into, how would you say it, real world change. So they may not leave their partner or they may not end something. For some people, it's enough just to start processing it psychologically, or emotionally.
But there's always change psychologically from the revealing.
Because now I don't have to carry the burden of the secret.
Yes.
Now I've got freed up emotional and psychological and a lot of the times physical space. Like the amount of times I've seen people drop huge amounts of weight after revealing a secret. Now I've got more space in my life. Now I can make some different choices.
Wow. That is so impactful.
Huge. And so in body psychotherapy, we get to see where in the body somebody is holding pain, and not always, but sometimes there can be a secret or a blockage behind that pain. So secrets aren't just, I'm keeping this to myself and not telling anyone. And that's why sometimes I call it poison, because secrets do create psychological, emotional, and physical blockages.
From what you've just said, are we able to say, okay, the more we release, the clearer we are, the less blockages we have? Is that a fair assumption to make from what you've just said?
Yes. I mean, everybody has a public life, a private life, and a secret life. So it's not that we're meant to tell everybody everything. And some secrets, can be healing. So or not healing, but like, say, for example, I heard somebody say something horrible about you. We're not at the point where it's like, I'm going to tell you this, so we're keeping the truth really out there. There's no benefit to you knowing that information. So I also want to say too, I don't feel like all secrets are bad. Some are healthy. Some are psychological defense systems. But we're talking about the type of secret where you've either been forced to keep a secret, chosen to keep in a secret. So there's different levels of toxicity to secrets. I like to think of it sometimes, even when you think about governments and classified documents. There's a public press conference. Here's what we want you to know. Here's what the army knows, and here's what only 4 people in the world know, and it's in lockdown for a reason.
Yeah, it's Coca-Cola's secret recipe, Julia. It's like
yes.
Yeah, I like that. And I really agree with you. It's not because I'm working with women. Yeah.
Sorry.
So you go on.
We taught at a really young age to keep secrets. If I think about divorced parents, when you go back to your mum's, I don't want her to know that we did this.
Yeah.
When you go back to your dad's, I don't want him to know this. My mum used to say when we were really quite little, let's say 6 or 7, when we go to grandma's today, don't tell her about this. It's family business.
Yeah.
And so, children sometimes in helpful or insidious ways are taught to keep secrets and then told about stranger danger, you have to tell mummy everything.
Yeah.
So there's this really conflicting matrix of secrets and levels of secrets at a very young age.
Yeah.
And so they get put into our psyche, at a young age. Of course, the first biggest secret we're ever told. Sorry, I'm thinking of your listeners who might be on a loud podcast with children in the room, thinking about some of the important holidays or what happens to children when they lose a tooth. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes,
trying to keep a secret. We're taught, secrets, yes, at a young age.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fun forms and destructive forms.
That's it. Yeah. Don't tell mummy about this treat that we had, and it's literally an ice cream or a lollipop. Yeah. And and like you said, the more insidious, obviously the more insidious ones about not telling anyone, or harm will come to them or their family or their pet, or
Yep. And so I've been in therapy myself for years, just to unpack stuff. And being with somebody safe is the biggest precursor to unpacking a secret. I had a therapist in the last 10, 12 years. I had a therapist for 6 years and didn't reveal something that frankly they should have known, but I also didn't feel completely safe for various reasons with that therapist, and was proved right to have trusted that instinct. But then I started working with a new therapist and blurted it out in session 2. Like there's nothing I can't tell her.
Yeah. Incredible.
And so, it's why you can have a best friend of like 15, 20 years, not tell them something, have a new friend that you met at gym, and within knowing them 6 months, you're telling them something that, so secrets and finding someone to talk to, it's all about safety.
It is. Yes, I agree with you. I've always listened to women's secrets. I mean, being a sexologist, you hear women's secrets, and now as a confidant, yes, definitely hear women's secrets. I was wondering, based on what you just said, could you give our listeners some, a few words of support around how they can tap into their intuition, around who they can reveal to and when? Like if there's just anything that you feel that they could know to equip them to work out who is safe.
I think my first response is start small, not tell them a part of the secret. But, I have, a friend where I will tell her something and she'll give me some feedback and supportive for a few minutes, but then we're talking about her. But I've just revealed something that needed really talking about. And this is where not every secret has to go to a psychic or a therapist, by the way. But, I think people know when who they can reveal something to. And the other thing is, too, as Brene Brown said, like, be very cautious. Like, there is nothing more gut-wrenching than telling a secret to somebody and either having it dismissed or that phrase like, oh, that's nothing. Do you know what happened to my grandma? Do you know what I mean? You can get a sense of that stuff, certainly within friendships. And I think, too, for me, this has always been a big red flag for me. If anybody starts out a sentence with, I'm not meant to say this, or you're not meant to know, or so-and-so told me not to say anything, but I'm out. I'll keep you as a friend. We'll hang out. We'll go out for wine, but I will never reveal anything to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a huge red flag. And I think you see it too when friendships end, and it's like, God, they used to bag about this person all the time. Now we're not friends. Are they telling all my secrets now to everybody else as well? I think it's one of the most painful things about friendship breakups and marriages and relationships.
Yeah.
But, with friendships, we do open up, and quite often, well, this is the case of my clients, they will open up to friends way more than their husband.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
But, yeah, if anybody says, oh, look, don't tell anybody, but so-and-so told me blah, blah, blah. And it's frankly why I stay in therapy, because I can't talk about my client work to my friends. So that's why I have a therapist to keep in check. So if I hear anything in a session that, triggers me, I can deal with it appropriately.
Yeah. You've used the word hearing, and in your bio it says that you're clairaudient. Can you tell listeners what that means?
So there are 5 psychic senses. Clairvoyance is clear seeing. Clairaudience is clear hearing. So it's, when somebody comes in and I'm talking to them, I'm also listening to guides, angels, ancestors in my right ear. So whenever I do radio and I put the earphones on, I have to skew the right earphone off my ear so I can hear messages from the other side.
And
that's actually, there's a third, well, there's 5 senses. As I said, the third one is clairsentience, and clairsentience is feeling physically what somebody else is feeling. So somebody might walk in and they've got a headache. I've now got the headache.
Yes.
But coming back to the secrets, if somebody walks in and I can feel that it's more than anxiety, that anxiety, butterfly, panicky feeling in the stomach, I want to unpack that straight away so that person has that relief of a symptom. So if I have somebody coming in and, their stomach's in knots, I need to unpack that so I can also get my own stomach out of knots.
Out of knots. And when you do that for yourself, are you able to hear better? Like, do you need to do one in order to amplify the other?
No. It's like I can't get rid of the knot in the stomach. Once they start to feel better, it'll automatically go for me.
Okay.
So, if somebody walks in and I can see they're super jittery and nervous, and I know this sounds weird, but I'm like, oh, this feels like an affair. I'll get into the cards like super quick so I can start seeing who the players on the field are. And go, oh, hang on, here's the odd man out. Let's talk about this person. And sometimes people are like, oh, God, no, it's just my husband. Oh, God, no. And then I'll read for them 2 years later and it's like, oh, okay, well, we finally worked out who the King of Cups is.
Yes, okay. That King of Cups.
Do you know, I keep secrets sometimes. Sometimes people in a session, sometimes I have to gauge, particularly if it's somebody I've read for the first time, and they're in a marriage and I can see it's not going to end, but they've got like a 1-year-old baby and they've got all sorts of shit going on. Like I may not say that information because they're either not ready for it or it's certainly not what they came for. How do
you decide when you are going to reveal?
Some actually, I got a I got a bad review on Facebook. This is years ago. I'm talking like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. And it was from a girl and I'd done the whole session and I had said one thing about her boyfriend and she crossed her arms and she was furious. And I was like, right, note to self, we're not going to the boyfriend again.
Yeah.
Anyway, Yes. So I decided in the last 5 minutes of the session, she said, I noticed you haven't talked much about my boyfriend. I was like, well, basically, I don't think you're going to be together. And like, that was it. And
Yeah.
because some people just can't hear it.
Yep.
Yeah. I worked at a healing clinic years ago, and well, I was there. And one day the owner said, look, we've got a new girl just doing reception today. Let's say her name's Sally. So Sally's fine with you now. And I was like, what does that mean? She's like, well, you told Sally in a session that she was going to break up with her boyfriend. And she said you were the worst psychic she'd ever seen. And she said they've actually broken up and she's okay now. So it really is one of the secrets in the session. I have to, decide whether or not they want to hear it. And I have some people who just walk in and go, I don't care what you've got to say today. Just tell me everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, all righty, let's go for broke.
Yep. Yeah. Giddy up.
And then my regular clients, they're like, what are you not telling me? And I'm like, I hate this part of the session. You know it. Okay, here's what's going to happen. And they're like, damn it. Then their reaction's classic. Damn it, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. That's beautiful that you developed that rapport with them over time. And
oh God, I've got 3
trust.
of my clients. I've got their login details for their Tinder. They're like, just a couple of times a week, can you go and swipe? I just can't choose them properly. I'm like, all right. So yeah, there's great rapport there.
I should have put that in your bio. Can also assist with.
Oh God. You know what? I think there is a massive business market out there that's untapped. And it's like, getting a council of people together to help choose your dates.
Yes.
I think it's a business idea waiting to happen.
Oh, most definitely.
But yeah, secrets are everywhere at every age. And I think, when somebody reveals something to you, if they're sharing a secret, I think it's really important to drop everything, not try and fix the problem or fix whatever they've just revealed to you. Ask appropriate questions. Like, even let's say you had a cup of coffee, it lasted 2 hours, they've revealed this big thing. One of the big questions to ask the person is, going forward, do you want me to check in with you about this occasionally, or do you not want to ever talk about it again? Like, how do you want to handle this going forward? Most of the time they'll say, please just don't ever put it in a text message. And it's like, it's fine. Okay, so only when we're face to face. So sometimes I'll say to somebody, look, I'm not going to harp on about this, but what you've just revealed to me is really big, and I'm just going to give you a quick 5-minute phone call on Tuesday because I am worried about you.
You've put that so beautifully, and that is so tangible for anyone to say to their friend at the end of a revelation of a secret. So thank you so much. That's such a gift to just leave it on that note.
Yes, ending on that, whenever there is a contraction, whenever there is an expansion, like revealing a secret or something like that, whenever there is an expansion, there is always a contraction.
Yes.
So a lot of the times people will reveal a secret and then they'll go into their shell and shame and go, fuck, why did I just tell that person?
Yeah. And
I don't want to talk about it anymore. And then, a month later, they might go, look, I was really shameful. They might even say, what did you think? Like, are you judging me? They might go into that headspace. It's like, oh God, no. Yeah.
Julia, I'm just wondering, we've talked a lot today about what we conceal and why. What are 3 things that you would want women struggling with being their fullest selves, revealing themselves to know? Like, what do you think will really help them in that?
So somebody who's got a secret.
Yeah. And
first of all, I want to give you permission. You don't have to tell anybody. You are, you don't have to tell anybody. You tell somebody when you're safe and when you're ready. And just be very careful at choosing the person. I would suggest, if you can, most people are sort of, married, kids, crazy life, create some space for yourself, whether it's just getting up earlier and going for a walk, doing something gentle for yourself. Usually once you reveal a secret, lots of stuff comes up. There can be confusion, there can be certainty, because it's like releasing a valve. So sometimes I think the term be gentle with yourself gets overused, but in this case, like, I literally mean it. So if you revealed a big secret and then could take a day or two off, that would be like a massive act of self-care.
Yeah.
And the other thing is too, spend some time with yourself. Why did you keep the secret? Who benefited? Like, what was the payoff? Did you pay a price, or were you protecting somebody else? I think coming to terms with that can be very powerful. Why didn't I tell? Usually if you're holding a secret, you're protecting somebody. So it gets to, this is where people spill the beans and want to tell a secret. The pain of keeping the secret has become too much.
Yes. Yeah.
And I had something in my life happen in the last 5 years where I was keeping a secret to protect somebody else. And I talked to them about it, and the very next day, my hair fell out on the right side of my head. And I was like, this is the price I'm paying for keeping this secret, because secrets really affect the autoimmune system. Anyone with major autoimmune systems, it's medical, go to the doctor. But, like, I want to be clear about that. But secrets do compound autoimmune issues.
Wow. And in women, what do you tend to see?
Thyroid issues, autoimmune, and insulin resistance in the belly. And that's why I said, when people drop a secret, they drop weight because it has affected them. I had a client of mine in Sydney, and she she's a survivor, a sexual abuse survivor, and she had quite a bit of weight. And she said, I know this is the last piece of the secret to get rid of. And now she runs like 10Ks and whatever. But weight can sometimes be a side effect of the secret.
Yeah, it's self-protection, right? Is it armor?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's armor.
Yeah.
And it's also a way, where you put on weight, it can physically push other people away. But energetically, it also pushes people away.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much, Julia, for everything you've shared with us today. I've gotten so much from this episode, and I love how you've weaved secrets through really common situations that people experience, really human ones that we don't talk about and are still secret. So thank you so much for being so human with us about our humanness. It's more of what the world needs. It's such incredible medicine, and I really love what you do. So thank you so much for your contribution to this big discussion today.
Thank you. Yeah, it was big. We weaved.
It was big. We did weave. We definitely did. And now I would love it. Could you tell listeners where they can find you online and all your services?
So on all the socials, I am Psychic Julia George. So my website, psychicjuliageorge.com, Instagram, Psychic Julia George, and Facebook.
Yeah. And you can do readings with people online and in person?
Yes. So I have a Gold Coast clinic at James Street at Burleigh. I'm in Brisbane every Saturdays, and the rest of the world we do phone sessions or occasionally Zoom. Yeah. So today's Wednesday for me. I started very early with for all my New York clients.
Oh, okay. Brilliant. Yep. Love it. Thanks so much, Julia.
Thank you. It was really beautiful to share an afternoon with you.
Yeah, you too. I've got no doubts we'll reconnect in some way, in the near future. So thank you.
Look forward to it.
I have no doubts that this episode has contributed to your understanding of your secret self. If it's activated you, take the next saucy step and share and tag me on Instagram so that together we can create an even bigger impact of women feeling seen, heard, and understood.